Well, after 9 months of thrilling action across 4 different continents, the 14th and final World Cup race of the 2024 season is just a few minutes away, with the elite men's race coming up live from Brasilia in South America, and it should be a fitting way to finish the campaign. More than 40 men taking their chance here, and if you're with us for the women's race earlier, you'll know we couldn't have asked for a more spectacular backdrop with that JK Bridge prominent throughout this race. We are racing over the sprint distance here this morning, so it will be fast and furious once they do get underway. Here's the course they'll be tackling: a one-lap swim in the Paranoa Lake, so 750 meters, swum clockwise and obviously dead calm on the lake. Then it's quite a long run actually when they get out the water into transition, and they get on the bikes for a 20k ride, which is made up of 4 equal 5-kilometer laps. It's essentially an out and back course. The twist is that it takes the athletes across that JK Bridge that we just saw a moment ago. So 4 times they have to go over the bridge on those long straights. We've got a breakaway in the women's race. Every chance we might get one on the men's. There's the run, flat for the most part. There is one ascent on each lap. They go across the bridge again, 2 laps of 2.5 kilometers each, and that makes up the 5,000 meter total distance. My name's Trevor Harris alongside Helen Jenkins, and as I mentioned, we've a good sized field here, but the man to beat could be Miguel Hidalgo, defending the title he won here last year, obviously, when it was an Olympic distance. And of course, he also won his first medal in the World Championship Series in Weihai. So in terms of pedigree, you'd probably say he was the one to beat here this morning.
Yeah, I think he's coming in, well, with that #1 on his hat. He is the man to beat. But there's a lot of pressure that comes with that #1. He wants to repeat. He wants another home victory. And looking in that top 10, I mean, you've got John Reid, who's won a World Cup already this year. Callum McCluskey's won a World Cup. Sergio Baxter's got some medals. So it's a really strong top 10 and plenty of men there to challenge Hidalgo for the win today. Yeah,
Diego Moya also has been on the podium this season at this level. Manuel Messias hasn't raced much this season, but we know from his exertions in the World Championship Series how talented he is. Andrew Buck of Chile may also cause a surprise here this morning. 42 men in total are on the start line here, incidentally.
Miguel Nuno Batista there as well, who's still a junior. He was the world junior champion last year. He didn't manage to repeat that in Torremolinos this year, but still a solid result there for him.
Weather-wise, it's the rainy season here actually, but we've kind of gone away with it. No rain so far. Quite warm, even approaching 9 AM local time. It's about 20 degrees centigrade, which is 70 Fahrenheit. Not much of a wind either, as we look at Sergio Baxter, who had a very decent race in the grand final, actually.
Yes, he finished 13th. So it was the first Spanish athlete home, which everyone thought that might be Alberto Gonzalez, who's had a really amazing season. But Sergio Baxter had a fantastic race there. Diego Moya, we'll be looking for him to be one of the athletes leading out of the swim. He's a great swimmer.
Won a bronze at Wollongong in April. Otherwise, though, I think a fairly disappointing year. Did get a top 30 in the Olympics, however. There's Manuel Messias, who's had various injury issues. Only his 5th individual race of the season, actually.
Yeah, I mean, his standard, I mean, 3 World Championship Series podiums in the last couple of years. When he's on, he's really good, but he was struggling with injury at this race last year. His run wasn't there, that run form. So it's whether he's managed to get in a bit of training since the Olympics, whether if he's healthy and injury-free, then he's got a challenge for the win today. So Toby Powers there from Australia. This is his first ever World Cup. He's won a few points races, a few Asia Cups over the last 6 months or so. So a bit of a big race for him today, stepping up to that World Cup level. There's Batista from Portugal, who I just mentioned, world junior champion from last year, 7th at Worlds this year. I mean, he's been racing as a senior for the last couple of years.
Erwin van der Planck of Belgium just coming out. That really nasty bike crash, didn't he, that he's happily recovered from. Interesting to see actually what kind of a race we're going to get here. We had a two-woman breakaway on the bike in the women's race an hour or so ago.
Yeah, and that was partially dictated by the swim. It was a slightly longer swim than normal. It seemed to take the women a little bit longer. So if it is longer, then that may affect things. But it's a really tricky course to break away on, I think, if they come together out the swim. But again, the field isn't massive, so that does mean it can get a bit more strung out.
Rodrigo Gonzalez of Mexico just coming out there. Got a big representation from both South America and Central America, as you can imagine.
Well, yeah, and because we've had the 2 World Cups on this weekend with Miyazaki and then Brasilia, so we are going to see that split in the nations where athletes want to stay a bit closer to home, make that travel cheaper, and yeah, choose the World Cup, which is closest to them.
It was Teixeira, you just got a glimpse of.
They've all lined up on the pontoon in a very similar position to the women. Those top 10 athletes in the yellow hats taking the right side of the pontoon as they're looking out at the water. We saw in the women's race Victoria Lopez absolutely destroying the swim and making a huge gap very quickly. So any of the men did watch that, then they know that's what they've got to do. They really want that break to go. An athlete that has the potential to do that is Diego Moya, but he is a bit hot and cold. If he's on, he's really good over all 3 disciplines, but if he's not 100%, then you don't always see that swim. But he did really well in Vina del Mar last week. Andre Buch from Chile won, and then Diego Moya was second for also from Chile. They are training partners, so they would love to be able to replicate that similar sort of race that they did last week in Chile.
It's Clayton Hutchings, who's actually born in California, even though he represents Canada. Comes from a cross-country and a track background.
Yeah, a lot of American athletes come from that kind of background, go through that college recruitment system. And it has worked in the past better with the women than the men. They've had way more women come from that who've become, well, Gwen Jorgensen become the Olympic gold medalist. So, but the men, we've got at the moment John Reed, who's come into this race ranked second. I'd say he's the biggest American athlete that's come through over the last couple of years. Obviously following one from sort of Kevin McDowell, who was their best athlete around that Tokyo time.
Just going back to Hutchings, his grandfather was actually an Olympian. I always feel it must be so tough for sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters when someone ahead of you in the family tree has achieved something like that, because there's always comparisons being made, I would imagine, by those close to you and those looking on.
Yeah, we think, is that going to be your path? Is that the way you were going to go? And then if you do, there might be that comparison, yeah, there.
So we're getting towards the last few men. Bellido of Spain just coming out, and one more to see. It will be Valentino Agnelli of Argentina. So remember, just 1 lap in the water for these guys. But as we mentioned, when the women swam earlier, it took them pretty much bang on 10 minutes, which is longer than we would normally expect. So away we go then. The last race of the 2024 World Cup season is underway. 42 men here in Brasilia, and the home fans with very high hopes that Miguel Hidalgo can make it a glorious conclusion to the season.
It was it looked like some of the athletes weren't quite ready for that start there. Didn't hear the heartbeat music go, but maybe that's just us that couldn't hear it. But a couple of them were still almost in that upright position when the start went off in the horn.
They seem to keep the women on that podium for pontoon for a long time, and the men not anywhere near as long actually. But they're all away. I don't think anyone jumped the gun. 10-second time penalties in operation here for any infringements.
See that, all the yellow hats there on the right, they're our top-ranked athletes. They've all gone to pretty much the same side, but it looks like we've got some athletes on the left currently moving away. But as we get closer to those boys, we do see it kind of come together a little bit more. You know, they're the boys they're aiming for, which is why those athletes went to the right-hand side of the pontoon, slightly shorter distance to there.
Tu lembra que, André, rápido, como é que coloca o stage ligado?
Plenty of boats out there as well, isn't there? Kayakers for direction, filming, people to check that there's no problems with the swim behaviour.
Well, a few years ago, they asked the athletes kind of what they wanted, and they said, we want more officials just monitoring the swim. And they got what they wanted.
That might be the Spanish athlete there, Bolido. I'm not sure if he's leading that arrowhead that is kind of going away on the left-hand side when we were looking at it from above.
I think that's Igor Bolido.
I mean, he's a World Junior Champion from 2021, but we haven't really seen him too much there. He was a really exceptional junior. When you look at his junior results, he won so many junior cups, won that Junior World Championships, but his transition through to under-23s and seniors has been tricky. It'd be great to see him come into that kind of form he showed as a junior. Field looks really tightly compacted at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've only been swimming for, what, almost 3 minutes, but at this point in the women's race, the field was pretty much split asunder. That's not the case here with the men so far. Women swam it in 10 minutes. You'd expect the men to do it in around 9, there or thereabouts. So they're probably about a third of the way through here.
It looks like it's Bolido that's made his way to that boy first. Then we've got number 5 there, Diego Moya. Looks like he's just tucked in behind him. Number 1 there, Miguel Hidalgo, sat in about 6th or 7th position. He is a good all-round athlete, Hidalgo. He's a great swimmer. His bike strength, I wasn't quite sure where his bike strength was, but considering his first World Series podium was in Weihai, which was on such a strength course, we know his bike strength is good. He said he would have actually preferred this to be an Olympic distance. He feels that suits him better. When he looked at the start list, he's like, right, for a sprint, I'm going to have to run really fast for this. He knows there's some men that could really challenging here for the speed on the run.
Well, he had a phenomenal end to last season. We were talking, weren't we, doing the Miyazaki race, how certain athletes tend to come on strong towards the conclusion of a campaign. So last year, at the back end, he won the Pan Am Games, he won the Brasilia World Cup, so he's defending his title here, and then he was second in Vina Del Mar. So we know that this is kind of his time of year to perform.
Yeah, and he said every time he's been really healthy and fit this year, he's performed well. He was a little bit under the weather for the series final and was a bit disappointed with that 20th, but I mean, he's had an 8th in Paris this year, which is a really strong result. You feel like at age 24, he's really going to be wanting to push on and make a big push now towards the next Olympics.
Yeah, he won this race last year by nearly half a minute. Okay, it was Olympic distance, but still, it was a comprehensive victory from the Brazilian. And I still think, even though he won that race last year, I still think sprint distance suits him best compared to Olympic. And we know how good he is in the water. He's always going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, he's. It looks like Diego Moya's now taken up the lead at the front of the race. He was sat in second, but he's moved his way through.
Yeah, I think if you ask Diego Moya, you know, assess your last, I don't know, 2 years, I think he would probably accept that he's not been at his best. There've been odd moments, haven't there? I mentioned the bronze at Wollongong. He won a silver last weekend, actually, in America's Cup race in Chile. Silver in Vina del Mar last year, but not too much else. And you just think he's got more talent than that.
Yeah, and because when he has had those performances where he's been on the podium, he's excellent. He's really good. It doesn't always come out in a World Series, and sometimes that was with the bigger field and maybe there's a lot more jostling. That swim aggression is a little bit higher, so sometimes people don't adjust to that very well. But in a World Cup where the field is slightly smaller, the standard's slightly lower, sometimes you're able to showcase the swimming a little bit better, and that always sets up his race. I don't think I've ever seen so many kayakers out there.
It's almost like a kayak event.
They're making sure that nobody goes wrong.
Well, still reasonably well grouped. They've strung out a little bit more, but you'd expect that nearly 7 minutes in. And they're only going to be in the water for another couple of minutes.
Yeah, you can't imagine much is going to happen at this point in the swim. Everyone is quite stuck together, but this is quite a narrow bike course in part, so as they go up and down the same carriageway over the bridge, so it's going to be tricky for some of these athletes to actually stay in the group. It's really going to be whether they've got that bike strength to be able to stay there and positioning. So John Reed, who won Carlo Vavari World Cup earlier this year, he was really looking to go to World Industry 3 Champs. It was a big aim of his to try and win that, and he came away with 6th there. He was a little bit disappointed and wasn't quite there in the swim, and had to work really hard on the bike to get himself back into the race, and then obviously just didn't have the legs. So I think looking for, you know, a really good finish to the year for him to put behind that disappointment of the under-23s. I think he'll be really happy that, I imagine he's in that big group there, because we can see most of the yellow hats are in the middle of that pack.
You would think, yeah. Originally from Virginia Beach, he's now based in Salt Lake City in Utah. Just wonder what that sort of single file line of men is going to translate into in terms of how many we're going to get in the lead bike group. Just to tell you, by the way, we've had, unfortunately, some issues with our timing, so we're not going to get, like you would usually see, the positions and the timings for all the individual athletes.
No, there is an external link linked off in Triathlon Live, but it didn't work consistently well for the women's race. So just if you could have a look at that, and you might get some results up there. We'll do our best to decipher where all the athletes are and what the time gaps are. But at the moment, it looks like one pack pretty much for the whole field.
Could be.
But then things can always break up through transition. You mentioned earlier that this is quite a long run through.
Yeah.
And athletes that are slightly under pressure in the swim, maybe just off the back, will try and use that run to get themselves comfortably into that front group.
Yeah, it's going to be a test for maybe after about the first, I don't know, 8 or 10 men. So 9.5 minutes dead out the water.
It's Moya, one of the Mexican athletes, didn't quite catch the name or number. There's Hidalgo. John Reed's up there as well.
No surprise, Reed prominent.
Powers from Australia. Belido's still up there as well, so he maintained that good swim throughout the race. There's Hidalgo. Hidalgo knows he's in good form. It's just not panicking, kind of getting through the swim and the bike well. There's Buck from Chile, who's just kind of coming through. Looked like he was running through the transition really fast.
So how many are we going to get as they prepare to get on the bikes? We're going to come to stand number 5. We had one of those stands fall over, actually, in the women's race.
Good transition from Belido. He came in about 3rd down, but managed to get out first. Oh, a big, massive bodies now, all coming out at the same time. Very congested in transition.
So let's see what happens here. This is a 20k ride, 4 laps, each of which will take them over the JK Bridge.
So this is a really tricky bike course for breakaways, but these athletes now at the front, they've got to try and make the most of it. They've got through transition really well, really smoothly. It's not going to be sitting up and waiting. They're going to really get to the front, keep pushing on, because it's such a long way. Look, you see the athletes in the back still coming around that corner. It's really strung out.
Yeah, it could go 2 ways, this, couldn't it? We could get maybe a small group going clear, or we could have 20 or 25 men riding together. Well, that gives you one view of the JK Bridge, Steel and Arch Bridge. It goes across Lake Paranoa. 1,200 metres long it is. And the decks are supported by steel cables that alternate at each side of the deck. Opened to traffic December 2002, so it's coming up to its 22nd birthday.
Surely there was a cone in the middle of the road there. The athletes did point it out to each other, but hopefully someone moves that off the course. But this front group, at the moment, they've got a little group working. The problem is they're coming up to the dead turn, so when they get to this, there's going to be that slowing in. So almost that bit of a concertina effect where the groups will come back together slightly. But those athletes that are currently behind in those smaller groups, they know they're going to come back together at this point, but they're really going to have to work out of these dead turns to try and maintain that position. Not sure if that's the second pack or the third pack on the road. But there's our leaders around that first dead turn. You see that smaller group, looks like they're just coming onto the back of them.
We've got 11, and then there's a small gap, and then a similar number, and then another gap. So kind of racing in 3 virtually equally sized groups at the moment. And then a few stragglers you can see still going down the other side of the road.
Yes, that second group are almost up to the first group. It's going to be a really hard chase over probably the first lap and a half, then we might see them all come back together, but it's not going to be easy to that point for any of these athletes.
It's Kolobrodov.
I think our front 2 groups are now together.
Yeah, and it looks like the group behind might be soon as well. Not far off at all.
Athletes at the front are really trying to keep working hard, especially now it's just that sort of grind uphill to the peak of the bridge, and then they're trying to keep the pressure on, make it as hard as possible for the groups behind to catch.
Well, it might be the best chance they'll have. But at the moment, sure it's going to succeed if they are trying to get away here.
That's Baxter there just coming through. So he's in that front group.
Only his 5th race this year. We mentioned his grand final exploits, and he got a bronze in Valencia. Wasn't in the Olympics, despite being 15th at the test event.
Yeah, the Spanish men's team is a hard one to make, isn't it? Antonio Serrat, Roberto Sanchez and Alberto Gonzalez. We've got 3 very strong Spanish men there, but you do feel like Baxter is one of those that's pushing up and getting towards that top 3.
And he's still just 24, so
yeah,
time very much on his side.
So we can't tell you exactly who's in the group because we don't have all of the timing splits, but we know coming out of the swim that a lot of those main players from the first group are up there. Didn't see Callum McCluskey, so it'll be I'm not sure if he's in the front group. the Australian, 2 medals already this year. Win back in Napier, which was quite a big surprise as he beat Hayden Wild there. I think everyone looked at that start list and thought it was Hayden Wild's victory, but McCluskey had a fantastic performance to get the win.
And it was no flash in the pan either. Top 5 in Wollongong, silver behind David Cantero in Valencia, top 10 in Rome. So definitely a live player, but so you can't spot him at the moment.
Maybe not in the front group here, but could be in that second group. Oh no, there is an Australian in there. So that's, yeah, that must be McCluskey. Powers was a little bit further back. So group 1 coming down the hill. We can see group 2 just behind them, and then the third group approaching the dead turn. So 3 groups on the road, which makes for pretty intense racing because there's no chance to back off and ease up because you just have to keep the pressure on. You just don't want that group behind to catch.
There's 11 in that group.
Oh, it's so close now, isn't it? Just a few seconds, that second group almost there. This could really slow things. We may see that third group catch up. It's when you get that feeling when everyone's so close in the water, although there's been breaks opened up over the first lap, it feels like in sprint distance racing on this kind of course, it does tend to all come back together. Some of the athletes will have had fun over this first lap or two to really try and break it up. Baxter on the front there. He knows those groups have come together, so really trying to push the pace out of this turn up the hill. This is one of the parts of the course where it's going to be the toughest, so he's really trying to exploit that and put some of the members of the group that are trying to catch under pressure. You see he's done well there because they were right there, weren't they? But they haven't managed to get on.
Well, he is a naturally aggressive triathlete, Baxter. I mean, he trained with the Brownlee brothers, didn't he, in Leeds? So that's always a good apprenticeship, so to speak, in terms of aggressive attitude on a bike.
Yeah, and he's come from a cycling background. He's done a lot of cycling in the past as well. His dad is from the area, from that Leeds area, and is a really good age group triathlete as well. So triathlon has, so sometimes it runs in the family, doesn't it? Then you see your parents doing it. We do tend to get that with some of the athletes. Their dads or mums inspired them to take it up when they were young. See the groups all strung out across the top of the road. We have a Brazilian athlete on the front, but it's really hard to tell with the pictures whether it is Miguel Hidalgo. We know he's in that front group. He might just be trying to sit in, save a little bit of energy. You think when it's a home World Cup, is it that team effort? Is it like, right, Brazil, we need to get some medals, so let's leave Hidalgo in the pack. You guys kind of work, help him out a little bit. May happen.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, he has to go into the race, doesn't he, thinking he's got to do it himself. He
oh
can't
yeah,
rely on
unless it's been a sort of plan before. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the exact athletes that are in there.
11 Brazilians in this race, so they've got more than a quarter of the field, actually.
Yeah, we haven't got any timing come up, so it's really hard to say exactly which athletes are in there. Is that Hidalgo on the front?
It is.
He's been doing a lot of work over this lap, and it's like he's got a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, and maybe he was hoping like 2 or 3 might come with him and they could get away.
I think someone will jump over to him if they can. It's a great opportunity. I mean, I can't believe they would be letting him ride down the road.
Probably not a good plan as a premier triathlete in the field. Well, no one's in a hurry to go with him, it seems.
No, he's just sort of hanging off the front at the moment, but then there is a risk in that as well, that he's expending a lot of energy at this point. And although on paper I'd say the course doesn't look too hilly or too hard, I do think it's pretty energy sapping, just from like the way the women's race played out with Summer Rappaport really coming unstuck on that second lap of the run and losing a bit of ground. And you think, well, maybe just that her being out front that whole time with pressure on really does drain the legs, because if you're sat in the pack now, you are able to free some. They're on the slight downhill, so the ones that are sat at the back of the pack just getting a little bit of an easier ride down here. But Hidalgo in front, because it's not a really steep downhill, still got pressure on the pedals all the way. I mean, I thought over that after that first lap that it was all going to come back together really quickly, but this front group have done a really good job of pushing the pace on and almost losing some of that group behind. Yeah, some of that second group have joined on, but not all of them, and we haven't got the third group up there yet either. When the athletes really trying to chase him down there.
Yeah, they're trying.
I think they'll probably get there. It's whether 2 or 3 can jump over to him and actually get the group working.
You've got to love the intent, though.
Yeah, and I think it's a good sign for Hidalgo. He must be feeling good, because you wouldn't be jumping off the front of the group or even riding so hard you end up off the front.
And we know he's one of the fastest runners in the field, so it's not as if, you know, he'd be hugely inconvenienced if he came off the bike in a large group in T2. So they're all together again as they come through transition. Half done on the bike, 2 laps down, 2 to go.
It's a good gap now to that second group.
I think we're up to 15 now.
Yeah.
As you said a while ago, they nearly caught on, didn't they? And
yeah,
now...
it looked, well, the second group got there, didn't they? And then there was that big push, and it looked like the third group weren't too far away.
Yeah.
But that pressure that was applied at the start of this second lap by Sergio Baxter and then Miguel Hidalgo on the second part of the lap really has pushed them away from the third group. I'm wondering if Manuel Macias is in that group as well. He is known to have a little bit of weakness in his swim, so he may have missed that one. And whether Andre Buck, the young Chilean, managed to get into that second group and now is in the front group. Batista from Portugal taking his turn at the front. Looking to try and get this rolling, trying to get it smooth.
Yeah, there's a lot of looking around and a lot of sort of body language going on. West is here to say, do you want to come for try and get a little break here?
Spanish athletes having a push off the front now too. These constant attacks will drive the pace, will keep it high. And this is where you have to be really tactically smart, because you don't want to be the athlete constantly chasing down the brakes, really tiring out your legs. So you want to be sat in the pack knowing that letting someone else do the work, but also being able to respond then if it's a significant break and something's going to go up the road. But I think from this point, we're on their third lap now. It's unlikely anything's going to go at this point, but you really have to still be aware. Few athletes at the back just look like they're struggling slightly to get back on, but again it's all closed down quite quickly. It's like Bolido now, he was the athlete that came out of the swim in second position, but Sergio Baxter had a big push there and then it all came back together. Bolido took that time to attack. Whether anyone's going to go over with him, a little look behind just to see what's happening, but not much. It looks like he's on his own if he's going to go for it.
Well, he'll be in good company because he's getting the same reaction that Hidalgo did a few minutes ago when he tried to make a little solo break.
We can see at this point that second group in the distance, but again, I don't think it's closed down.
Yeah, they still look to be a fair way back, and we're pretty deep into lap 3 now. Just one lap to go after this.
And most of these athletes, this is the last race of the season, so it'll be a relief for some of them to have it done and finished, looking to finish off the season really well. I mentioned Callum McCluskey earlier. He had a great start to the World Cup season and then really sort of drifted off in the middle, but used that period over the Olympics where there wasn't as much racing and he wasn't going to the Olympics to almost do like almost a reset and a really big training block, and it's really worked and he's come good for the end of the season. So, and then you've got Hidalgo, who's had the whole qualification, Olympics, series final, all of that stuff, had a more maybe consistent year of training and a consistent year of racing, and is looking forward to the end of the season.
Spaniard's got himself a little mini break here. He kept looking back, no one came with him, so he thought I'll just press on. I was going to ask you actually, Helen, how much of a break do these men and women obviously as well get during the closed season, bearing in mind that the World Championship Series next year starts middle of February and the World Cup not long after that?
It's a really hard when the start of the season is so close. I mean, that is quite tricky, and I don't think you'd expect any of the athletes to be in 100% form in February, because it's impossible to maintain that form through February all the way through to the back end of the year at the series final. So you do accept when the season starts that early is you're going to be fit, but it might not be 100%. Otherwise, it's going to be a hard balance. But generally, people will take 2 to 3 weeks off training or 2 weeks off completely, and then it's just a bit of movement. But it's really not that long. Some athletes don't like to take any time off properly, it might be unstructured training, just training for fun. But it's really hard when you're an athlete and you train so many hours a day and then you're expected to suddenly switch it off for
Stop.
a few.
Yeah.
Well, I used to get really grumpy. I think I'm really missing the exercise and the training.
It's like cold turkey, basically. Go from...
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just that unstructured training and a bit of downtime, the mental break, which is really important. You want to start back your winter training feeling refreshed. You don't still want to start back feeling quite fatigued from the season. And I think sometimes after an Olympic year, athletes might need a longer break. So you do have to give yourself a bit more time sometimes to allow for the mental stress. And an Olympic year is always a more mentally stressful year. There's a lot more emotion around a year.
Yeah, so that break's been finally covered. The first World Championship event next year is in the middle of February. The grand final in Australia is late again. It's in October, middle of October. So, as you say, it's a long time. You have to find a way to pace yourself and try and peak for the events that really matter.
Yeah, and the different athletes will have a different plan. So we're looking at Miguel Hidalgo. He's going to be targeting the World Championship Series. And then the World Cups like this are maybe the things that in a home race, what is going to be important. But for some of these athletes, targeting World Cups will be the most important part because they might go to a World Series and get a top 20 or maybe a top 15. But if they go to a World Cup and win, that actually might be more productive for them. So it really depends where you are in your development as well. And there's John Reid on the front there. This was his first ever World Cup last year, and he said he barely made the top 30. So he said it's the improvement within a year. He's won a World Cup this year.
Yeah.
He's coming here as one of the challengers, coming in ranked second into the race. It's so this year the focus may have been World Cups, but next year it might be more on the World Series.
Yeah, we saw him in a couple of races, didn't we, on the World Championship Series?
He did really well in Hamburg. Remember in 16th in Hamburg, and then a 15th in Weihai. So 2 top 20s, I think, in their first World Series is a pretty good going.
So they are on their final lap, and it looks as if we're going to get a whole group of men duking it out over 5,000 metres, unless something happens imminently to separate these cyclists.
Yeah, last time all the way up and over the bridge. They have got to do it 2 more times for the run. Their chase group now a long way away, and I think it's got to be that podium coming from this group at the front.
I don't think they've seen the last of this bridge when they come off the bikes, because we've got to run over it as well.
Yeah, not all the way, but still enough of it. I said that, so they thought the chase group were well out of it, but they have closed down. I do think we've got most of the main contenders in the front group now, but they've definitely pulled it back over that second lap. Bolido's attack and then it all getting pulled back together. It looks like the pace has slowed slightly at the front. And we're going to see some of the men take it out super fast. So there's some athletes have that ability to really push the pace over the first kilometre and put others under pressure. We will have the athletes that maybe aren't as quick over the first kilometre and try and run their way back up to it. I mean, when we saw that camera angle there, it looked like the chase group were right on them. So
yeah,
they're way out of it, but they're right back.
Yeah, the camera foreshortens it a lot.
If they do catch, it'll be just at transition, which is the worst place possible, where you go from that group. We're still two quite big groups, but they suddenly merge and transition just becomes absolute chaos.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's psychologically so damaging for the leaders to have done all that work and then find the pursuers right with you at the very last.
See, some of the athletes will start to position themselves closer to the front now. They want to be closest to the front when they get to the final dead turn, so they're there at the front through that like slight descent back down towards transition. Not far now to go for the leaders. Oh, it is. It's going to catch right at transition. It's really close. Some of the Chilean athletes now having a little push there before just getting to transition. That was Callum McCluskey there, wearing number 3. Dodgy. If you saw that, Hidalgo went up the outside and someone followed him and then someone else swung out, so it's where you've got to be super careful. Oh, there was a crash there.
It looked like someone might have gone down.
It was, well, there was a moment where a couple of people almost touched the group, but look, chase group now just a few seconds off the back.
Well, they might not be right on the wheel, but they'll be in very close proximity when they come off these bikes shortly.
Yeah, a little moment there where those athletes almost touch wheels, where your heart rate just spikes up and you think, oh, just don't come down at this point.
Yeah, so the chance now just to try and steal a few metres, just try and give yourself an uncluttered route into T2.
And the athletes also have to think about which side of the transition their bike is on.
Yeah.
You also want to get off on that side, so you don't want to be crossing over other athletes. Just getting the pigeons off the course. Oh, closed down so much over that last lap. Good work by the chase group.
So off the bikes they come. And the chase is right there with him. Effectively, they got caught right at the death.
Yeah, and it was Buck from Chile, and it was one of the Chileans that had gone off the front. John Reed a little bit further back.
Buck is the first man out, along with McCluskey of Australia.
Yeah, Hidalgo struggled a little bit getting the shoes on.
But still in a decent position early on, as they head out for 2.5 kilometre laps.
Manuel Macias at the front, or Antonio Bravo. One of the athletes gone out really fast. Hidalgo there in 4th position, just running down fast. He struggled a little bit with his right shoe.
So it is Macias, and we know his quality as a runner.
And I think he might have been in the 2nd group as well, so he's caught on just at the right time.
And must have had a very, very good transition also. There's Hidalgo getting cheered on the whole way round, no doubt.
Then Macias' form is a little unknown. We definitely know he was injured into the games. And he hasn't raced that much World Triathlon stuff this year.
No, it's only his 5th race. And that includes a 45th in the Olympics. He DNF'd in both his World Series races in Calgary and Hamburg. He did get a medal in a Europe Premium Cup race in the Netherlands in June, a silver.
Yeah, and he was running really well there, but like taken off.
He's absolutely flying. Well, we know, again, talking about athletes that come good towards the back end. He won Vina Del Mar last year, didn't he? Towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
But he's had so few races this season that numerically he's some way down the list.
Yeah, and he's going to have more of a focus in the future on the long distance races as well. He has said that he's going to definitely mix it up, but at the moment a great start for him.
Yeah, he's playing catch me if you can, the Brazilian here.
Hidalgo's managed to get up to McCluskey. Just got to settle now. There was that big push out of transition. That's almost a little bit of panic, so you have to get there, kind of almost settle, get your breathing back under control before you decide if you're going to push on again. And that's Sergio Baxter who's with him there as well. Maybe one of the Chilean athletes who's tucked in there too. But Hidalgo on the chase. He wants to win this race again. I mean, imagine if Brazil got 2 medals. There would be a...
Bring the house down, wouldn't it? Hopefully not the bridge down, but it'd certainly bring the house down.
Yeah, there must be a fear of bridges. You don't want to be an athlete coming to this race if you do have a fear of bridges. Pretty much 90% of the race has been on the bridge.
I like it, though. I think if you've got a landmark like that, then take advantage of it.
Do you think they'd do it over the Sydney Bridge?
Be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just the bridge.
London Bridge, you have to go over it about 50 times to get the distance.
Yeah. We have 4 chasing down. Liz Buck, who's managed to tack on the back of that group. Really good transition, but he hasn't faded. He's managed to stay with the athletes as they've caught him. I'm always amazed that a group of athletes go out onto the road together and the gaps within a kilometre are absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's almost 30 seconds. It just shows the speed of the athletes at the front of the race. And we shouldn't be surprised that it is Macias at the front. I mean, he's, you know, the calibre of his racing, that many medals over the last couple of years. There's not many men that have got that many medals. So at the World Championship Series level, but he is just such an unknown because of his swim. Sometimes he's almost last out the water, but then if he's back into the race, he has the opportunity to win.
Yeah. Well, this has been a serious statement of intent from Manuel Macias on the first lap here. Whether it was a pre-planned or spur of the moment, but he's obviously feeling good, and those 4 trailing in his wake at the moment. Let's see if we can give you an idea of what the gap is when Macias completes his first lap. Not short of support.
So the Brazilians were 8th in the mixed team relay in Paris, which isn't bad either.
Yeah.
But they had Hidalgo, Macias, Jennifer Arnold, Victoria Lopez. It's a strong team. McCluskey now taking up the lead, taking up the chase. This is where, for Hidalgo, you can't let the pressure get to you of coming in when #1 thinking I just have to get a medal, because you just want to race the race as you want and not put too much pressure on yourself and just execute as you would any other race. Because this is where you can start, if you start to feel under pressure, it can kind of get into your head a little bit. It's a good gap Macias has opened up already. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, I didn't actually see this coming. I mean, we know what a top-class runner he can be on his day, but we had so little current form to go on from this season.
It is. I mean, a DNF in Calgary and Hamburg, 45th in Paris. So really the only good race he's shown us is Halton back in where he did have a fantastic run, but again, missed the swim. So, it was, I suppose, unexpected from form this season. Not unexpected if we look at his previous results.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's always good to see an athlete coming back, especially if they've had a period of injury or you know, just when they haven't been able to get on top of the results, it always means so much to the athletes and to their family and friends who have supported them through those tougher times. I mean, it's over 10 seconds. This is like a, yeah, we haven't seen many runs like this where it's that much. I mean, we have this year, Luke Williams did it in Wollongong, just absolutely took off on the run. David Tantero did it in Valencia, just absolutely took off, huge gaps straight away. It does make for exciting racing, though, with whether these men have anything left to chase back. And I think the horrible thing at this point is there's 3 men chasing for 2 more podium spots, and somebody is going to miss out.
21 seconds the lead now.
Huge.
He's absolutely flying, is Messias.
McCluskey as well. He's already got those 2 World Cup medals. It'd be great to add another one. Hasn't really shown the form in the World Series, but his World Cup form has been excellent this year.
Been training together all week of Baxter and McCluskey, so they should know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Baxter's coming off the back of Super Tri season as well, so he's had a really busy end of the season. Add in the series final there as well, but Macias at the moment absolutely running away with it. Buck now to the front, the young athlete. So this is his first year out of juniors. But not worried about those big names around him. He's happy to go to the front, push the pace on.
Yeah, so Buck, McCluskey, Hidalgo and Baxter in what looks like a fruitless chase, because at the moment Macias now on his final lap is 20 seconds plus clear of this quartet.
And no one in this group shows any sign of dropping off either. Buck's gone to the front, but I don't think it's done any damage. Doesn't feel like anyone's actually come under pressure. I'm not sure if it's a move or if it's just the pace has slowed, so he thought he should take it up. Buck's win in Vina Del Mar last week, that was his first senior win. So it's a big step, that, to come out of juniors and make the jump. I mean, obviously you can race under 23s as well, but some people prefer to go straight into the senior ranks and just get that experience. There's Macias going back the other direction.
Yeah, which won't help their demeanour any. The chasers. I mean, even though Macias hasn't raced much this season, as we've said, think back to last year. He got there out of the blue bronze, really, in Abu Dhabi, in the season opener, and then a fantastic silver in Montreal. He won the Valencia World Cup the year before that. So we know when he's fit, he is a serious player, as he is showing here. We're exactly 50 minutes into this final World Cup race of the year in Brasilia, and Manuel Macias threatening to turn this into something of a procession at the moment.
So the bridge is over a lake. It's a really big lake.
It is. It covers 20 square miles, which is 48 square kilometres.
Good job they've got a big bridge to put
They
over
need
it.
a big bridge, and there it is. specifically designed for the purpose. Well, this is a real battle, isn't it?
It is.
Because two of them are going to miss out in terms of medals.
And I really feel for Miguel Hidalgo, who's come in with the #1, with the pressure on him, with the breakthrough season, that he might miss out at this point. So it's worth it, what he's got left at the end of a long season to try and get himself a medal at his home World Cup. But none of those other men are going to let him have it just because it's his home World Cup.
There's no room for sentiment in top-class sport.
You've got the young Chilean buck who's coming in with a first senior win and potentially a first ever World Cup medal. To get that so early on in your career would be a huge boost. Obviously Callum McCluskey, a little bit more experienced. Sergio Baxter as well. He's got lots of World Cup podiums and a World Cup win. And Manuel Macias was nearly towards the end now. Well into that last, well, half a lap. He's got that dead turn at the end of the course, then that slight descent back towards transition. And, well, if he's still in that same lead, he's going to have plenty of time to enjoy that blue carpet, which I think will be very impressive with all of those Brazilian fans down by the finish.
They're going to absolutely love it, aren't they?
Miguel's already made the dead turn.
Here he is.
Almost afford to ease back a little bit at this point. He's so far ahead.
Just could never have scripted this.
No, I mean, I saw him on the start list, but I presumed he might be in the same form we saw in Paris.
Yeah.
Just hasn't really been in it. But yeah, it's always good to see these athletes coming back and having great performances. And that's the thing with triathlon, you just never know what is going to happen, do you? You can't just look at previous form because somebody's obviously gotten themselves back into form.
Turns 28 in 10 days' time. Nice little early birthday present here for Macias. It's just been a wonderful display on the run. And he must have had a magnificent T2 because we reckon he may not have been in that first pack either.
I didn't see him in the front pack. No, I mean it was really hard to tell with the pictures as they are today. But I think he might have been in that second pack, which was perfect for him. But even if that pack had stayed away back, the run he's had today.
Got time to acknowledge the home fans as he comes onto the blue carpet, and there is no one anywhere else in sight. You need a telescope to see the rest. And Manuel Macias wins a home World Cup in Brasilia in phenomenal style. That's the way to end a drought of average results. Dominate a race. I'll have a bit of a wait now. See who is going to get silver and bronze. We know there were 4 of them. It looks like McCluskey is going to come home for silver ahead of Baxter. And that is the way of it. McCluskey gets the silver and Sergio Baxter takes bronze. Hidalgo just misses out on the podium.
Yeah, disappointment there for Hidalgo. Wasn't his day. Andre Buck as well, great performance there for his first ever World Cup. John Reed coming in 6th place, so not quite that win he had earlier this year, but another solid result.
He's getting more and more consistent, isn't he, for sure?
Wow, good for Batista as well. He's still a junior. So some of the younger guys really making an impact in this final World Cup of the year. Boyer inside the top 10. It's Kai Willie as well from Brazil, so 3 Brazilians up there. Liam Donnelly there from Canada just finishing.
Willie of Brazil, absolutely exhausted.
I think he's inside the top 10 though, so that's a good day for Brazil. I mean, we know Miguel Hidalgo is going to be disappointed not to cut onto the podium with the season he's had this year. It was something you probably would have expected, but it has been a long season for some of these athletes.
Good of Israel just finishing. Another Israeli, Brasilia. Nunes of Brazil.
Powers from Australia as well, finishing his first World Cup.
Número 38, Nicolas, do México. João Teixeira também já fecha, também mais um brasileiro fechando a prova. Passa por aqui também o número 43, Igor, da Espanha. Vem número 36, Jorge Klimenko. Tem atletas já fizeram o nosso tapete e vem para a chegada. Passando por aqui também, número 20 do México, e o Vladimir González Mendes. Número 22 também. E o número Rodrigo González Lopes, número 22 do México, e o número 20 também, Yael Vladimir. Dobradinha mexicana agora nessa chegada.
Bora, Felipe, bora!
Vem da chegada também já, para receber, cara, o nosso tapete azul aqui também.
Bianchi of Brazil just coming home. All these men still finishing well under an hour. So many Brazilians in this field.
Yeah.
We said there were 11 of them.
Great opportunity, home race, getting that chance to have a World Cup. So many of them, it'll be their first World Cup experience.
Vamos aqui agora também já acompanhando mais um triatleta que fecha a sua prova. Dos Estados Unidos, Matthew McGuire, também completando a World Cup Brasilia. Cruzando também a nossa linha de chegada. Valentim Aguilar, da Argentina. Também chegou aqui agora, da Argentina, Jerônimo Derret. Número 35 também completa a sua prova do México, Rodrigo González. Recebendo também agora mais um brasileiro na área, Vinícius Ave Santana.
Foi bem melhor, bem mais estável. Foi bem melhor mesmo. Bem melhor.
Tem mais um atleta já no nosso tapete para fazer a sua chegada por aqui. Mais um atleta do México, Humberto Castanheiras. Chegando também da Costa Rica, Álvaro Campos Solano. Agora o número 33, da Argentina, Thiago Munhoz, também completando a sua prova.
Vamos, Antonio, nos quedamos ahí. Este triple de acá.
E é o esporte fazendo a festa aqui em Brasília.
Well, hopefully we can have a word with Manuel Macias. Alaya Sanudo is our on-course reporter. Curious if he'll tell us where this performance came from, because we did not see it coming. I wonder if he did. Let's find out.
Manuel, what a race, and here at home, I guess that it feels even better, no?
Yeah. This is not my best year, but probably today my best day in the year. I'm very happy in the Roma race. I'm feeling very good in the run. I'm very happy.
Yeah, you were saying that it has been a tough year for you. I guess that closing the season with a victory at home feels even special, no?
Yeah, very special winner here. Thank you very much for the Confederation of Brazil, the amazing York and the Olympic cycle. Yeah, okay, I'm happy.
Like, we saw a big group on the bike with really good runners, but we saw you as soon as you were on the shoes just going full gas, no?
Yeah, I'm feeling the run very good. I'm start the running and my leg is very strong. Yes.
Well done today, congratulations.
Thank you.
Fechando também todo o nosso trabalho de pista na World Triathlon de Brasília. Valeu, Lecheta!
So brilliant win for Macias. I would imagine that Elias going to get a word with Callum McCluskey, the Australian, who's had an excellent season himself. Winning Napier, silver in Valencia, and now another one here.
It's good news when the podium is ready.
I think now we can hear from Callum McCluskey.
Callum, you started the season, the World Cup season, with a win in New Zealand, and now closing up the season with another silver medal. How does that feel today?
Yeah, it's really good. I think my World Cups this year have been pretty solid, and I've been pretty consistent. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit disappointing as well because I sort of haven't performed at the World Series level. So I guess next year I'll be really looking to make sure I can get some good performances there.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the race today. There was a large group on the bike with really good runners. Manuel went full gas from the beginning. A smaller group stayed back. Were you trying to make the numbers and see whether you could catch him?
Yeah, well, I guess on the bike I was just sort of staying towards the front and being smart, and then on the run I tried to go with Macias, but he was way too fast and I couldn't hold that, so I sort of slowed down. And then us four in that second group, we were just sort of running very tactically, and I sort of just waited to the sprint, and I sort of backed my sprint and sort of knew that I might probably had the best sprint finish, so I just waited to the end, and yeah, luckily I got second across the line.
Well, paid off today. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
Can you grab Sergio?
Well, they will be on that podium shortly, both the men and the women. But I think we're probably still going to hear from Sergio Baxter, who claimed the bronze medal here. Only his 5th World Triathlon Race of the year. And it will be his 2nd World Cup medal. He got a bronze in Valencia a couple of months ago. So I think now we are going to have a word with Sergio Baxter, claiming the bronze medal here today. He's down with the lion.
En inglés. ¿Cuándo fue tu última podium en Copa?
Valencia.
Es verdad. Hola, mosquitos.
No se están grabadas las entrevistas porque en el momento en que íbamos a empezar estaban los highlights.
Vale.
Ahora están coordinando el ingreso de las entrevistas pasadas y...
Vale. Esperamos un segundo. ¿Has estado aquí? ¿Estabas entrenando con Calum o simplemente habéis coincidido?
Bueno, Calum lo conocía de Valencia y cuando quiera.
Okay. Well, Sergio, podium here today. I guess that after the one in Valencia, feels really good to close the season with another podium in the World Cup, no?
Yeah, it seems like this year is all about thirds in World Cups. I got third in Valencia and also third here, but super happy. I couldn't really ask for more to an end to this really long season. And yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my family and my girlfriend that they've gone pretty much to every single race with me. And then unfortunately they've not been able to come all the way over to this side of the world, but they're a huge support and I've just been thinking about them the whole time. Going back home now on holidays, I think we've all learned some good holidays, so yeah, super happy with the race.
Tell us a little bit about the race. There was a large group on the bike with really fast runners over there. I guess that it was a tactical run then when you saw Macias going?
Yeah, Macias was just on another level. He was honestly in his own race. And then, yeah, I guess when it was just us three fighting for podium, I was thinking, well, one of us is going to leave without a medal, and I didn't want to be that person. And then I felt pretty bad the whole race. I've been with gastro the whole week, so just not feeling good, having stomach issues, and yeah, just left it all out on the line. I thought, it's the last race, I might as well just leave it all out.
Well done today, paid off, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So hopefully we'll get the podium presentations underway fairly shortly. And as soon as there's any activity, we'll be right back with you. Well, we're just actually having a little recap as to what happened over the last hour or so here in Brasilia. It's a pretty compact swim in the end, Helen, wasn't it? We didn't get the sort of mass kind of separation we had in the women's race.
No, Diego Moya leading it out, really pushed the pace through the swim. He managed to string it out, but it was this first lap of the bike which eventually broke up the field into several smaller groups.
And we saw the chasers just about capture on at the final kind of moment on T2. They've been threatening to get closer and closer and closer. There were a couple of attempted mini breaks that didn't happen, but it was Manuel Macias who just frankly ran away from everybody and won by a street.
We didn't actually find out whether he was in the first group or the second group. Without the timing splits, it's quite hard to know where athletes are sitting in the field. To find the women as well who raced earlier, make sure they're back ready for their podium celebrations.
Aí você tem que tirar no poste. Tem um software chamado Topaz. T-O-P-A-Z. Esse software deixa bonito. Só que é pra
Atenção, atenção, a segunda colocada é Sandra Doder, atleta da França, que atende ao atleta Sandra Doder.
Mas assim, eu só uso nesses casos. Esporte é possível.
Convidando a segunda colocada, a atleta da França, Sandra Bebê, para a nossa cerimônia de premiação. We are taking out the guys 10 minutes the medal ceremony.
Mas eles vão lançar agora a 7 Mark 2, vai ser legal para esporte. Tá cá. Vamos ver se alguém traz ser Paraguai, sabe? E a R3 aqui, tá 35 horas. Ah, eu paguei e eu peguei um pré Black Friday agora. Aí eu mandei entregar na minha prima tá lá. E saiu a nova 70-200, só que 3 pau. Vou esperar um pouquinho. Ah, é 3. Cara, tem muito. Eu comprei ela. Ah, mas 2,8 você tem que dar 2. É, 4 não dá pra usar. Mas essa, se eu usar 2,8 ainda porque eu gosto dela, o foco é super rápido. A R8 é legal. Até já estamos aqui. Cara, é rápido, mas aí o problema é a construção dela. Esquentar, bater muita foto sem esquentar. Você tem que olhar isso. Foto para esporte tem que ser tanque, é isso aqui. Tá porrada, já caiu de moto. Tem um mesmo. Não, essa aqui, a que eu vendi, já tem ninguém mas eu... A explicação da caneta era 2 eu peguei ela na TikTok. Não, eu corri um pouco depois. 18 anos. Mas ela tá tranquila. Se eu não vender, eu vou deixar ela só pra fazer. E outra coisa que eu já descobri também, tipo, com essa aqui não rola, porque o arquivo é muito grande. O menor JPEG dela é tipo 12 essa aqui ela tem um JPEG médio, e aí ele fica uns 4 MB mais ou menos, aí fica bom. Lá que ele demora, né? Mas você pode ver na bateria. Se demorar 10 minutos, não vai ter bateria.
Queria convidar o Armando Barcelos e também o Virgílio Castilho, próximo à nossa cerimônia de premiação. Com instantes, nós vamos começar a cerimônia de premiação. Queria convidar também todos vocês aqui, todo o público presente, e convidar também os nossos atletas para a cerimônia de premiação.
Eu uso o foto mecânico para selecionar e o Light 1 para finalizar. Não, mas é porque aqui eu trago tá na moto, mecânico quadrado, segurado, e é um preço bem razoável. E ao mesmo tempo ficar... Já vi quando você está selecionando lá, que dá aquelas travadas. Então, o foto mecânico não dá isso. Aí eu uso para arrastar o espanhol piorou.
Aquela outra tocando o quê? A rede tem dessa também.
Mas acho que a bateria é esgotada. Então ela a bateria da tecnologia mais antiga.
A nossa, eu falo assim, cara, deve ter uns 3 milhões que já passou na guarda de tem 400 mil. Imagina a nossa
Eu já até comprei já, vou fazer
a 3 nessa distribuição dessa.
Vamos dar início então à nossa cerimônia de premiação da World Triathlon Brasilia 2024. Queria pedir uma salva de todo o público presente para aplaudir as nossas atletas, as nossas campeãs. Terceira colocada, atleta dos Estados Unidos, Tamara Gorman. Segunda colocada, atleta da França, Sandra Dodé. E a campeã, primeira colocada, foi Rosa Maria Vidal do México.
So here we go for the women's medal presentation.
From the United States, Tamara Gorman. Uma salva de palmas para ela.
Tamara Gorman, after all the injury issues that she's had, be a big moment for her. Her first World Cup medal since 2019.
The second place from France, Sandra Dodé. Uma salva de palmas para ela.
Sandra Dodé claiming the silver medal.
Ficamos também agora vestindo castilho para premiar a atleta.
Always thought if she was there or thereabouts off the bike, she was a great bet for the podium, and that's the way it turned out.
E agora vamos com a nossa campeã. The first place from Mexico, Rosa Maria Vidal. Pode aplaudir a nossa.
But even Sandra Dodé couldn't live with Rosa Tapia today. Absolutely storming performance from the Mexican. Didn't panic when Rappaport and Lopez made that two-woman bike break. Stand by then for the Mexican national anthem. So 3 very happy women on that podium. Big moment for Tapia to round out the season with a victory. So stand by, the men's medal presentation will follow momentarily. So the 3 medalists in the men's elite race about to receive their medals.
The second place from Australia, Callum McCluskey. In the first place, Brasil, Manuel Messias. No pódio conosco, uma salva de palmas para os nossos triatletas. Para premiar, quero convidar o senhor Matheus Bahia, secretário executivo de esportes do Distrito Federal. Convido também para participar conosco da cerimônia de premiação a senhora Gisele Marques, da Secretaria Nacional de Excelência Esportiva do Ministério dos Esportes. E também convido o general de divisão Paulo Afonso Bruno Melo, presidente da Comissão Desportiva Militar do Brasil, para o terceiro colocado, Matheus Bahia, premiando da Espanha, Sérgio Baxter Cabrera. Uma salva de palmas.
So, bronze medal for Sergio Baxter.
Entrega agora
His second World Cup medal of the season.
As flores. Matheus Bahia também representa a Secretaria de Esportes do Distrito Federal, premiado o terceiro colocado. Dando sequência, vamos agora convidar a senhorita Isiane Marques, da Secretaria Nacional de Excelência Esportiva do Ministério do Esporte, para premiar o segundo colocado, atleta da Austrália, Callum McCluskey. Uma salva de palmas.
Callum McCluskey claiming the silver. Because he started the season with that fantastic win in Napier in the opening World Cup of the year, and he finishes it also on the podium.
Muito obrigado. E agora vamos premiar o nosso campeão. E para isso convidamos o general de divisão Paulo Afonso Bruno de Melo, presidente da Comissão Desportiva Militar do Brasil, para premiar Manuel Messias do pódio. Uma salva de palmas.
Messias, who from nowhere really found one of the best performances of his career today. Yes, he's got medals in World Championship Series races, but he'd really done very little this term until producing, well, one of the runs of his life to win by a street.
Para acompanhar a execução do hino nacional brasileiro.
Well, home crowd really enjoyed that. Brazilian winner of this Brasilia World Cup.
A entrega do champanhe e as fotos ali ao lado também da elite masculina junto com a elite feminina. Por favor.
So now we're going to have the women medalists back on, and we're going to open some fizzy stuff. And they can look forward to a little bit of a break. They don't get much rest now. The season seems to go on and on and on. But chance, once they can get the cork out, well, McCluskey's away. There we go. See, Sergio's still struggling. He can maybe spend the close season working out how to uncork a bottle of champagne. I think he's cracked it, has he? Yes, no. Needs a bit of help. There we go. So this was our final World Cup race of 2024. We've been going since February, and of course we've covered the World Triathlon Championship Series for you as well. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage in 2024. Have a lovely close season, and God willing, we will see you again in the new year and do it all over again. From me, Trevor Harris, for Helen Jenkins and our entire production cast and crew in Brasilia and beyond, thank you for watching. See you next year.